Thank you so much. Um, and I grew up in mostly in Collingwood, and and then my family on my dad's side is from Scugog Island, so specifically the reserve there, Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. And so I grew up going there a lot, and I still visit. Um, and so, yeah, that's where I'm from. And as a person, I love Harry Potter. I love playing music. I love planning little fun, nerdy parties and dressing up. And that's who I am.
I love Harry Potter too.
What? What house are you in?
Ravenclaw, probably, I think. I've done like a quiz and that's what it's told me, so going with that.
Amazing. That's so cool. I'm a Hufflepuff.
Um, so kind of connecting to your like family life, you come from pretty creative family, your dad and brother. So how have they kind of helped you, or how has that shaped your creative journey?
Well, that's so cool that you follow them too. Yeah, so my dad, his name's August Swinson, and he's an amazing artist. So, and my mom's creative too. Her name's Donna, and she actually owns a flower store called Lily's White here in Kitchener. And so Luke and I, so Luke goes by his, I think his Instagram handle is Luke Swinson Art, and he's an amazing artist as well. And I'd say his style is like woodland, um, particularly, and he's a digital artist. And so, growing up with creative parents, we were very fortunate. Now, as an adult, I look back and I'm really, really grateful because we were always accepted. They always accepted our passions and our interests. It would have been interesting if we wanted to go into like engineering, or we were like mathematicians. I think they'd be like, what do we do? What? But we were all creative, and so we grew up in a really like nurturing creative household. And from an early age, I showed an interest in all things creative. Like I used to draw a lot too, and then that turned into music, and Luke just always excelled in art. So then when we approached our adult years, we just felt so supported by them. So I think there was never a question of, oh, should I pursue this professionally, because our parents did as well, whereas I know that's not always the case. um, and so I'm really grateful for that. And now it's pretty cool because we all live in Kitchener. We live just like 5 minutes away from each other. um, and we see each other a lot, and often our art is intertwined. Um, like we're in the same community, so I will play maybe like a little show at like a mural unveiling that my dad did, or like Luke and I will collaborate on projects too. Like he was illustrating and still working on one of my music videos. So it's pretty great. Yeah, we definitely all inspire each other. Hmm.
So as like a kind of youth group, we have a lot of youth members. Do you have any advice that you would give your younger self?
Ooh, good questions. I would say it's there. I mean, it may sound cliche, but the quirks that make you who you are, even your faults, I think they end up being your strengths, and you can use those to your advantage. So, um, yeah, like different perspectives and interests. Hi, kitty. There's a cat. Hi, so cute. Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to think back to when I was like maybe more so a preteen. I was insecure about certain things. Maybe I wasn't as athletic as my friends, but I was maybe more artistically inclined. And I think that just like lean into those things. Like if you're really passionate about Pokemon, or you're just really into like math or something, um, and even socially, I think sometimes our society often elevates like extroverted voices. I actually am quite extroverted, but growing up, I was finding myself and was quite shy. Um, and so, but I think there's beauty in thoughtfulness and gentleness and quiet nature too. So yeah, just like all your quirks, those are great and they make you who you are. And I think later on in life, they you just like they come out in a bigger way and can really shape your path, like your profession and who you meet. And then you can surround yourself with people who are like that too. It's just great. So embrace your quirks. Great
Yes.
question.
Yeah. So continuing on kind of the growing up type of topics, how was your transition from high school to adulthood? Anything that you would do differently or do the same?
Oh, I love this. I am obsessed with watching like movies that are based in like high schools that like I still watch like teen rom-coms and stuff like that. So I love talking about my teenage years, and I did have a really good like high school experience and everything. So moving from high school to I went right to college. I studied music actually at a little Bible college in Saskatchewan. And that was really a great experience for me. It sounds really random. It was really great though. And so I think that I made quite a bold move. I didn't know anybody at this school in Saskatchewan. I didn't really know much about the school. I knew I wanted to study music in a faith-based context, and so I feel like that was maybe one of my first adult decisions, and that I followed through with, and I'm really glad I did. I think maybe my parents were thinking, why is she doing this? Oh, she's so far away. She doesn't know anybody, but it was, excuse me, wonderful. And it was a very seamless transition because I had the chance to live in a dorm like setting, and I got to make some really great friendships that I still keep up to this day. And I went to school. Sorry, there's renovations next door. Sounds like a thunderstorm. Um, I went to school. I went to college in 2004. So that was a while ago now. It was great. Um, but I'm trying to think. I had to be a little bit brave and go out and do this new thing on my own. But it was really exciting, and I never once regretted it. Yeah, thank you.
Right. So moving on to like music, your like whole music life. When did you first start making music and kind of why did you choose to do that?
Ooh. So when I was two, there's my uncle was high tech for the late 80s. I'm so sorry. Hopefully that doesn't
It's okay.
continue. Uh he had a camcorder, so there's video footage of me making up songs when I was two and teaching them to people. And then I was always writing songs. But the first time that I wrote a song and performed it in front of an audience was I think at a coffee house in high school. I was probably in grade 10. And I mean, in order to feel like I would like to have the um need to perform, I obviously was confident in myself. I think that, like I was saying, I had a nurturing environment at home, and up to that point I had taken like piano lessons, and then I actually took a community center course on a guitar, just very simple acoustic guitar course. And so I wrote a song and played it, and the response was really encouraging. So that just propelled me. And then I actually applied for college with like bass, guitar, and trumpet. But I wasn't passionate about those things. I knew that I really loved to play my guitar and piano and sing. So once I arrived, I focused more on those things, and I took a recording arts class, and I really developed that. And then after college, I put out my first album a few years later in 2008. And so it was this process because I didn't start off thinking in high school, I'm going to be a singer songwriter. That would have been cool, but I didn't know that about myself. I thought I would get into classical music. I studied upright bass and played in an orchestra in college, which was really great too. Like, I love that, but it was never my passion. I was skirting around it thinking, oh, me, like, I just know. But it was always there. And I just listened to that and followed it. and I forget what the question was, but glad that I'm doing it now.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, thanks.
So you mentioned like a lot of instruments. How many do you play and what do you play?
Oh, okay. So day to day, I play uh, guitar and piano. Those are my two main instruments, and singing. Uh, and then I'd say my third is I play bass guitar a lot. Like I'll accompany people, or I'll play in like bands. Um, and I don't have an upright bass anymore, so I'm not proficient at that. But what else do I enjoy playing? Oh, I had my friend's harp for a few years, so I do use harp on certain songs, and but I wouldn't say I'm a harpist, but I'm definitely a piano player and a guitar player. And I can play drums. Like I can dabble, you know what I mean? But I'm confident with guitar and piano.
Awesome. Is there any style of music that you prefer or over another?
Oh goodness. I definitely have preferences. It's almost easier to say what I don't like, but I don't want to focus on those things. Okay, I do notice I tend to lean towards other female artists. I didn't really notice this about myself until recently. I was listening to music, um, and my friends were like, "Oh, that person sounds like you. Isn't that embarrassing that I'm listening to music that sounds like me?" It's not the style, it's maybe more the voice. So I think I'm drawn to music where I can hear it and I can like really sing it and sound like that. I don't know. It's just fun to do. But I like a whole bunch of different styles. Like I like I have so you might be interested in my other band that's called the Love Goods, and we're a wizard rock band. And so I also really Lily, I also really like kind of scrappy garage punk rock kind of music. But then I also love people like Lorena McKennitt, kind of more folk Celtic centered music. Um, or like I'm obsessed with the band Always. They're from Toronto, but originally from the Maritimes, and they're like indie pop rock kind of thing. So yeah, but then in the car today, CBC that had classical music playing, and I find that so comforting because I also used to play that. So yeah, I love these questions. You're so great.
Thank you. You're really good at answering them, so.
Thanks, Farah.
um, like take us through like your creative process when you come up with like a new song idea. How do you come up with that? Do you like need to go outside and be kind of some stuff like that?
Well, okay, so what I'm finding nowadays is that I need to schedule that time in, which sounds like a no-brainer, but before kids, I would just sit down, and if I would just like it was just luxurious. If I had a little fancy, I would just sit down and write a song, and I would stay up all night if I wanted to, or I'd go to a cafe to write the lyrics. And now I'm like, oh, this isn't going to happen unless I schedule it in my calendar. It's not as romantic, but it needs to happen. And so, but today actually, like it'll happen anywhere. I think it was in the shower, which is so typical. But I was right. Usually it happens with lyrics and a melody in my head that I sing out loud, and then I can bring that to the guitar. Other times, if I'm sitting down, I'll think, oh, I'd like to write a song right now. I have my guitar, and I'll just play the chords, and that'll kind of lead me to sing, and then I'll just see what comes out. And it's what comes out is often what's on the surface in my mind, what I'm going through, what and it's interesting because sometimes I might not be aware of those things until they come out of my mouth, and then I realize it's almost like therapy. And then I realize, oh, that's what's going on under the surface. That's what I need to explore. I need to kind of deal with right now. So I'm so glad that I can do it because it's almost a way of like journaling. And oftentimes I'll write a song and I'll think, oh, this is just for me. But I'll like it so much that I'll share it. And I think that's good too, because then people can relate to your experiences. Yeah.
So what would you say your biggest inspirations are? Like coming from an indigenous background, and does that play a role in your song creating or your faith or anything like that?
Yeah. So I think that the way that I think about it, like I'm all these things equally together in one. And actually, um, like there's the medicine wheel, there's this idea that everything's connected. And yeah, it's definitely plays a big part in the way that just my outlook on life, and also just my family, that where I've come from. um, but I will say it was maybe just the last 10 or 12 years that I was intentional about writing songs that held like indigenous, like meaning for me, or like history of my family. There, I have a couple of songs that sing about the history of my family. And I think it was because I was just ready to really embrace that identity for my own. Because growing up, so my brother Luke, there's just the two of us. um, he's quite visibly indigenous, and I am quite visibly pale like a vampire. And so I always felt like, yes, I am indigenous, but I mean nobody knows it, so I guess I can't really claim it. It was silly. But and also I guess certain people made me feel that way, so from a young age, not meaning to harm me at all. Um but then as an adult, and after, even I went to Laurier just for general arts, and I took a lot of indigenous courses, and I rediscovered, um, just like a lot about, um, like I learned about things that I already felt inside. And so it felt very real, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to just like, who cares, of course, like this is who I am. So then after that I really started to incorporate it into my music, and it felt really good and authentic. And yeah, it plays a big part in my songwriting and who I am. And similarly to my brother, I know we often say the same thing, that through our art we discover pieces and parts of our indigeneity, or our identity. And so for instance, like certain songs I'll be using vocables, and that's a certain style of singing, and it comes very naturally to me, but I had never tried it. And that's just something that I didn't I didn't ever have in my songs, but I do now, because it's something I feel like I can do and I love it. So yeah.
Thank you. So, do you have any advice for any youth that potentially maybe want to go into kind of music and that whole industry, and even like pursue like a courses in music, kind of?
Ooh, yeah. So, oh, there's so much you can do. And I'd say, first of all, know that you can always change your path. So, like, I think I'm always going to be songwriting. It's just such a part of me. There's different times in my life where I've pushed like how successful commercially I am, and right now I'd say I'm sitting back a bit, and I'm really happy with, like raising Ingrid and soon another little girl. And right now I take on things that are meaningful to me, like this, and that are kind of work with my schedule and things like that. But just kind of look at take stock of your priorities and who you are and what you're comfortable with. And I think often as singer songwriters, it can be easy to get caught up in, what the industry thinks you should do. So how you should present yourself, what you should look like. Um, and it's just really important to think about yourself and really keep grounded, because there were quite a few, even labels who said, oh, work with us because we've had this big artist. And I was like, yeah, I should do that just because they're like famous or something. but it never felt right. It was not the right genre. It was like a hip hop, which like hip hop's great, but I was like, this isn't me. I need to find a producer who really gets my style and who's going to respect all of my decisions. And then I started producing my own albums, and then that felt even better. So just keeping in mind who you are, and I'd say you can change your vocation. Like everyone can. Even just little tweaks. So in it's called Briarcrest. I went to Briarcrest College, and then I went to Laurier after. And at Briarcrest, I studied recording arts, and so that's come in really handy because I have recorded myself, and I record in this room too. But then also I was like, oh yeah, I told you I was going to play classical music and maybe teach. But there's so many different things you could do. You can, like, even I could see myself maybe in 10 or 20 years transitioning into something else, always doing songwriting. But I don't know, it doesn't always have to be the same vein of music. But I'd say like just follow your heart, because I love doing my personal music, which is Elsa Jayne, and it sings about my life, but I also love doing wizard rock too. They're both very different, and they both speak to both sides of my personality. Like, you don't have to do one thing.
Awesome. Yeah. So we made it to the end of the interview. Thank you very much for
It's so fun.
all the questions. Yes. And then, so now I guess we get to listen to you play.
Yay! Cool. Awesome. Well, I have a couple songs prepared, and first I'm gonna have some water. So, and then I'll explain them. So, okay, so I have a couple songs. We'll see how much time we have, but the first song that I'm going to play is called Busho, and I kind of mentioned this before in the interview, but it's a song that sings about my dad's childhood growing up on the reserve. And I actually wrote it for the township of Skugog had like a songwriting contest, and my dad sent it to me, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do a songwriting contest. This is not something I would normally do. But I did it for him. And so I said, oh, I have an idea. Like, I'd like to hear about your childhood. And it just became like one of my most favorite songs, and so significant because he emailed me back, just point form. And you could tell it was just coming straight like a stream of consciousness. And he told me it had all these bullet points of his childhood. And it was just so beautiful. And I was like, there's a song right there. It was just so easy to write. And now it's this really special song that I feel like I can pass down to future generations. And the story of my dad and these little memories and snippets, well it's like storytelling. They'll continue on. And it's a way that we can remember where my family came from. So it's called Busho. And Busho was the name that his grandfather gave him, and it is a nickname. So yeah, this is Busho. And sometimes my dad actually signs his art as Busho. So there you go. I had a feeling of a proper childhood filled with love on the reserve. My grandpa chopping wood, the smell of his pipe, sitting on his lap in the rocking chair. He'd tell us stories there. A kind man would scare us with the stories from the Bible. Life on Skugog Island, walking miles in the summer sun, picking apple fights with the rest kids. the fun. I always thought I'd have these memories. Cousins across the fields, we'd watch our step, dancing over groundhog holes and patties. That's poop. Bathing in the winter time. The old stove would warm our little house and all our meals. Life on Skugog Island, walking miles in the summer sun, picking apple vines with the rest kids, taking that long highway from the head to the foot. I always thought I'd have these memories. Fractured memories. I'll pass them on to you. Share them with your kids. Island memories. Hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, busho. Hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, busho. Hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, busho. Hey yo. Hey ya, busho. Thank you. That's busho. Is it too loud?
No, it was so beautiful.
Okay.
Was the style of singing at the end the vocables that you were talking about?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. And it's always my favorite part of the song. It's like this release. It's really fun to do. Yeah. Sorry. Can you hear my text messages come in? That's embarrassing. Sorry. It's just so popular. So yeah, that was Busho. And now I have a song that I wrote in the fall. And so now that it's autumn, I just feel like playing it. It's about how inevitably like our lives change and evolve, and with the seasons too. How often nature reflects what we're going through, and I love that idea. So this is called The Leaf in the Trees. I'll put this down so you can see my guitar. The leaf and the trees calling me out to be at home. I watched you fall. Acorns and all, you stand alone. Maybe I could fall off a branch of leaves and are ready to be turned and rustled. Maybe I could fall off a branch of leaves and are ready to be turned and rustled. Change comes comes and it goes, leaving a ghost, a trace of home. Dusk falls on my face, colors ablaze. You stand alone, and maybe I could fall off a branch of leaves that are ready to be turned and rustled. Maybe I could fall off a branch of leaves that are ready to be turned and rustled. Oh, 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 the leaf and the trees calling me out to be alone. Thanks. Thank you. So I have other songs. I don't know if is there time. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm gonna play, actually, since we were talking a lot about my youth and things like that, this is one of the first songs that I wrote and recorded. And another bit of advice is often now we have like phones and tablets and stuff, and you can just record there. Like you don't really need much. And so when I think it was 18 or 17, I recorded this, and just on my laptop, which now would be super old and no one would want to record on, but it did the trick. And yeah, this is called Whispering Wind. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You are. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You are. And how can I contain myself? You know I can't change myself. You can. Your soft hush in my ear. Now I'm sure you're near. You're my dearest of dears. You are. Your soft hush in my ear. Now I'm sure you are near. You're my dearest of dears. You are. And how can I contain myself? You know I can't change myself. You can. You know I like it Wednesday day. So come in, guys, and make me sway. You know I like it Wednesday day. So come in, guys, and make me sway. Make me sway. Make me sway. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You're my whispering wind. You are. You Thank you. Thanks for
That
the
song definitely made me sway.
Oh, I feel like I need to make a commercial and you can be in it. That song definitely made me sway. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's fun to think of the stage that I was in when I wrote that. And it reminds me of like when you're asking me those questions, that's kind of the age that I was picturing. And I think you can really just it's such an exciting age to develop who you are and who you want to be. And I think that was one of the first songs that kind of led me on that path. So I'm glad I could play it.
And we've had some shout outs for you in the chat as well from some of the other viewers tonight. They're loving the songs, thinking that was awesome and that was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I feel so much love. This is just such a great little time. And I was telling my friend today, even though it's a really unfortunate time and things are there's a lot of unknowns and life has changed, there are some beautiful moments like this and ones that we can come together and learn from each other. And it's just so cool to see, Farah, like what you're doing and what like Halton Youth Initiative is doing. I think it's so empowering, and to think like you're already doing like cool, like a really neat interview like this, and you have such thoughtful questions. I think that should be such an encouraging thing to you and your peers. You are on such a good path. So way to go. So yeah, I'm trying to think. 6:45. Did I play one more song? Okay, cool. I think I need my capo for this, so just a sec. Okay, sorry about that. This song was from my first full length. So The Leaf in the Trees was from my most recent album, which came out just before our daughter was born in 2018. But this song that I'm playing next is from my first album, which came out in 2008. So they're 10 years apart. And it's called Sailing to the Moon. And like a lot of my songs, I tend to write about just the journey that we're on. Life excites me because it can change so fast, and we just don't know what it holds. And so I find that exciting. And so this is Sailing to the Moon. All right. Here is a story of how we arrived on the moon. Together we fancied each other, we fancied the view. I sailed away on the wave to the moon. Darling, do you believe all the dreams I have to be true? Oh, I know you dare. Whoa, 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 I know you dare. Twinkle and shimmer, you stars that go by, darling. Am I the star that can light up your eyes? Oh, you light up mine. Whoa, 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 you light up mine. The distance between us, the wave and the moon is quite far. But dreams from above have a way of delighting our hearts. Headphone break. Sailing away on waves to the moon, darling, tell me how long it will be. Will we get there soon? Yeah, we'll get there soon. Whoa, 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 we'll get there soon. This journey is ours in the sky and the sea. This journey is ours and you're looking at me. This journey is ours, what wonders we'll see. Thank you. I think that's all I have, or else I'll start messing up the chords.
That was so good. I like that one a lot.
Did you? Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. That's so cool to hear. Awesome. This has been so much fun.
Well, thank you so much. That was I'm blown away. I was not expecting that, and it was so good.
You're so kind.
No.
It's been really fun for me too, and just the questions and prompts that you put out there were it's been really cool to think back and to think about where I've come from. So it's been really great to meet you and just to be here. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. was nice because, like you mentioned, with COVID and all the change that's been happening, it's nice when things like this can happen. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor. Yeah, it's very heartwarming, and it's like a good reminder of like the beauty of humanity and what we can still accomplish.
Yes.
Mhm.
Lily, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to thank you for coming to the interview today. And Iman and Leon, if you want to say anything, you can unmute or you can throw it in the chat too before we sign off for the day.
Oh, cool. I just saw the chat right now. Oh, you're so nice. Iman, that was amazing. That's awesome. Oh, you guys, thank you. That's so sweet. You're all so nice. It's been just like, it's really neat to see what you guys are doing, and I'm really excited to see like where this goes and who else you have on here. And also just thank you for, yeah, like you are elevating Indigenous voices, and I think it's really cool to see just hear from different backgrounds, and within like there's me who's an Indigenous person, but then there's someone else who is Indigenous and would have a totally different story. So I think that's really cool what you're doing. So thank you for having me on here. It's been an honor. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that I got to meet you. Your voice is amazing. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gada. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but thank you very much. Just drop my pick.
All right. Well, Farah, if you want to close us off and then we can end our Zoom call.
So thank you for taking part in the first AMP series of the Indigenous voices and artists. So yeah, it was super fun. I'm really glad that I did this, to be honest, and I got to meet you virtually and listen to your awesome songs that I actually really like. So thank you again.
Thank you. Honestly, it was so much fun, and I just think what you guys are doing is so great. And I'm just like, I feel so lucky that I get to be the first one on here. It's such a cool idea. You guys are doing great things. So thanks again. I'll make sure that I tell more people about this and what you guys are doing. I think it's great. And you're doing an awesome job, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I think then we can sign off, yes?
Cool. Nice to meet you. Nice to see your faces.
Nice to meet you too. Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.